Okay, happy Sunday, everybody. This is the update. I am Donovan Sadiq. As you guys know, I'm going to give you the latest updates and shenanigans going on in the city of Moreno Valley. We have entered silly season now. A lot of stuff, a lot of messaging has been going to me, and we did a lot of research, really quickly because a bombshell actually dropped last week. I was dealing with that court case I was talking about with Victoria Baca, so I was focused on that because I'm trying to get that going. And wow, somebody brought that to our attention, and I think that person, Mr. Rutledge, hopefully I said that right, but he was the one that said, why aren't we talking about this? And again, what we do here is a voice for regular citizens to discuss and talk about what our council is doing. It's news from the Edgemont. This is the update. If you got the information, please send it in. We'll check it out. Make sure that it's good, because I don't want to be sued. And we'll try to get it out there. But that was a major bombshell. As everybody knows, Councilwoman Ladonna Jempson, my district councilwoman, confessed, basically, because when you confess, that means you had a secret, and now you're letting it out. She confessed that she is a former felon. Now, on Friday, she did a report in the Press Enterprise, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. This is going to run, I'm trying to be as fast as I can because I know you guys get bored and you got things to do. But basically, what I want to talk about is, as I'm reading the comments from her friends, and I have been saying for 2 years now, we need to stop electing our friends in positions that affect other people that might not be their friends. And because we are electing our friends, we don't see that maybe this might not be the job for them. We don't want to criticize them, even though they might be doing a horrible, horrible, horrible job. So the narrative of Mrs. Jempson's friends is that she's doing a wonderful job and she's been very courageous and, she's courageous. No, that's not courageous. Courageous would have been saying before she ran for that seat, hey, I'm Ladonna Jempson. This is my story. I'm a convicted felon, but guess what? I am running anyway because I stand for this, 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 and this. Then again, I've been telling you, because anybody please tell me what she ran on? 0. And Ladonna and I have worked very, very hard the last 2 years in this district. And I was as shocked as anybody else because that would have been the furthest thing from my mind, that she was a convicted felon. She's done a lot of great work for 31 years. She's changed her life around. Great story. I applaud that. However, I have a problem with felons working in certain areas. If you embezzled money, I don't want you working at a bank. If you previously molested children, I don't want you working at a child care center. If you previously abused your wife, I don't want you volunteering at the Wives Sanctuary for battered women. I wouldn't want you to be there, okay? And that's my stance on it. That's the way I was raised. There is a reason why people that follow the rules get rewarded and the people that don't follow the rules don't get rewarded. That is the thing about doing the right, doing what you're supposed to do. If you break the rules, it disqualifies you from certain things that you can do in life. And hasn't our parents always told us as children, be careful what you're doing because it can come back and bite you in the ass. And I would say that this is an example of that. And I'm not saying it's a negative example, but I think it's a great example to show our young people here in Moreno Valley what can happen when you make these bad decisions at a younger stage in life. Now, like I said, I'm 46 and, everybody makes mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. But recently, the council voted 5-0 to allow former felons to now sit on planning commissions and things like that. I and Miss Jempson, I applied for the planning commission 2 years ago, and I wasn't even afforded a second interview. And I had impeccable credentials, as in requirements. Even though there were no requirements, I didn't get a second interview. And yet people who had less credentials than me did get a second interview. So I want to share. Shout out to Misty, my mama cat, animal shelter. They still need help over there. Back of me is the green screen, of course, and I'm trying to get this out as I sit at my studio desk. But what I want to do is try to change the narrative about courage. What Miss Jempson did was not courage. Courage is when you're just graduated high school and you decide to serve in the United States military. That's courage. Courage is volunteering to serve in the military during time of war when your country needs you. That's courage. Courage is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That's courage. I could break it down and keep going down and down and down all this ladder. Courage is standing up for what's right. Courage is just doing what you need to do, standing up, taking that chance, letting other people decide. When you run for public office, this is why running for public office is so serious, because we hold our public officials to a higher standard. Now, I'm not saying Ms. Jempson would not have won that election, that recall election. She's very popular. She's done a lot of things. But what she actually did was disenfranchise us as voters. And that's what happened. And that's why a lot of people are upset. Let us decide. You took our choice away, Ms. Jempson. And like I said, Ms. Jempson is a friend of mine. We did a lot of stuff here together. And yes, I still complain when she takes my ideas and she tries to make it her own. Of course, she champions it. She's in the position to do it. But please, and that's what I complain about. The Boys and Girls Club, that was my idea. And I'm going to talk about this. It would be hypocritical of me not to criticize my friend, Ms. Jempson, when it was done to Miss Baca. And everybody knows my situation with the Bacas and things like that. Now, when I ran, I went and got this. This is what I ran on. Yes, on the recall of Victoria Baca. Here are the reasons why I felt Miss Baca needed to be recalled. She was under a federal investigation. I never said she was guilty of anything. I said she was under a federal investigation probe. She previously worked for Ito Bendizi. Convicted for obstruction of a police officer, which was a misdemeanor. Initially, it was a felony, but she pleaded to a misdemeanor because she probably knew this law that Jerry Brown signed into office. No, that wasn't even, wait a minute. Yeah, well, she pleaded to the misdemeanor, so it wouldn't matter. Worked 1 year on no recall from former Mayor Tom Owings. Neglect of the residents of District 5. What has Baca done for you? Now, I don't know what Ms. Jempson said during the recall efforts, as a lot of people have been saying. Victoria Baca's campaign manager, David Tellez, and me and David have a very off and on relationship, but I still consider him a friend, and I don't surround myself with people that hype me up. Oh, you're the greatest. I don't do that. I have friends right now in the community that are in disagreement with me right now, but I still consider them friends. Whenever I am out of order on this show, MV Gordy will either email me, call me, or put me on blast to set the record straight. And guess what? I call him a friend. That's a friend. Because you know what? He's telling me I should not be going down that road. So let's get away with this courage. What she did was not courage. What she did was coward. That's a coward. And Ladonna, this is not a personal attack. And it's very hard to have friends who occupy a public office. Unbeknownst to you people, I was one of the very first people to email her and encourage her and ask her what the facts were. I did that because she's my friend. And I waited to let her get the story out and, and give her the benefit of the doubt, whatever, criticizing. But she is my representative at the same time. So it's very hard. It's hard to walk that fine line. Yesterday at the Tuskegee Airmen meeting, Jackie Jempson's the outreach officer. We didn't talk about what happened this week because that's not the place for it. Because again, she's my friend. You know, I know she's under a lot of duress, but that's what you get when you come into public office. You're held to a higher standard. That's the bottom line. So I just want to break that down. What she did was a coward, because a courageous person would not have hid that and taken the choice away from the voter. So she's not courageous in what she did. I applaud her for getting out of her situation. I'm going to break this story down in the PE because it doesn't make sense. So be ready. Okay. Moreno Valley no longer will bar residents with felony convictions from serving on city commissions, committees, and boards. The change in policy was one of several made Tuesday in an attempt to create more consistent rules for city advisory bodies. Under the rules adopted unanimously by the city council, applicants will be subject to the same rules as those who register to vote. California law states that anyone over 18, not in prison or on parole for a felony conviction, is eligible to vote and run for office. The issue arose after Councilwoman Ladonna Jempson unexpectedly admitted at the meeting 32 years ago, and this is a quote, 32 years ago, I made some bad decisions associated with some bad people, she said. The results of that is I am a convicted felon. Why didn't you tell us that 2 years ago during the recall election? My question is, as I'm going to read this, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm trying to break it down because now I have a doubt. Because you hid that from us. Now it seems the story doesn't add up. And what I'm saying is that's the credibility problem now. And I'm not going to be hypocritical and be criticizing Victoria Baca, who's going to be running and things like that. And then I'm going to tell you another thing about courage. The only reason she came out, according to this article, was because somebody was going to out her. And that somebody was Ito Benvizi, who did a hit piece. Let's stop saying somebody. We know who did it. Highland Fairview and Ito Benvizi. This is his playbook. This is what he does to get people that he needs elected to get a $700 million bond of infrastructure so that we, the taxpayer, can pay for his WLC. That is what Chris Baca was alleging. Let's put these pieces together, people. Put it together. This is his playbook. He did this in 2010. Put the playbook together. And I'm just giving you the information. So here we go. My hopes are people will focus on the life that I've lived in the last 31 years of serving my community. Jempson said. Jempson, 60, said she was 26 and living in San Francisco County when she became involved in a tumultuous relationship. She said she was abused and forced to commit a theft at a bank for which she worked to ensure her safety and her child's. Okay, one of the questions I have with that is, 60 and 26, you're not a young woman. You're fairly mature to know right and wrong and whatever. You work at a bank where there's a lot of law enforcement and things that things that could have happened. I'm not Monday morning quarterbacking. I'm trying to decipher what. It doesn't make sense. I'm just trying to decipher this. And I lost my spot. Here you go. She said she was abused and forced to commit a theft at a bank for which she worked to ensure her safety and her child's. Hey, I'm not here to bash a victim. Okay, whatever. My question is, back in those days, did he hold your, well, hopefully she'll explain the whole situation. If she doesn't want to explain, that's her right. But it just doesn't make sense to me using logic, and I'm a logical person. It was the beginning of the worst time of my life, she said. After the crime, Jempson said she fled to Alaska. Now, my question is this. Why would an innocent person flee? Let's read on. 9 years later, Jempson said she returned to California and turned herself in. If you're a victim, what do you need to turn yourself in for? About what? But like I said, I'm sure there's more to the story. But I'm saying when you're talking to laymen, this is how we break stuff down. You've got to break it down to the simple denominator to make sure it makes sense. She turned herself in. She said she spent 45 days in jail and was sentenced to 60 days of house arrest and 3 years probation. Okay, using my logic, and I'm only speaking for myself, why would an innocent person be charged with a crime? You tell your story, the investigators investigate it. If it's true, you're not charged with anything because you're the victim. You're a victim. You were forced to do this. And in the military, I've seen a lot of situations where, things like that had happened. But I've never seen where the victim that was forced to do a crime is charged. Do you know that in the military, if you're a POW and you give out secrets because you were beaten and stuff like that, technically they can charge you with a crime because you gave out secrets. But for the simple fact that you were under duress, there's never been a POW that has been convicted of a crime, no matter what they've said. Because what is the level of tolerance per person? Not everybody has the same level of tolerance. There's a great movie on that starring Richard Pryor. It's called, what's the name of that movie? It was a great movie. Oh, Some Kind of Hero. And when I went to SEER school in the military, they showed us that very movie that had to do with that. You can't, everybody has a different level of tolerance and pain and things like that. So the United States government has never charged a person for giving up classified secrets that was a POW. And there's been cases that actually happened. And that's a serious thing. But anyway, 60 days and she was given 3 years probation. The San Francisco County Superior Court records could not be confirmed Friday. But if you go to mvgordy.com, that case was in Downey, California, and you can look it up, and I copied that here on this page. During an emotional interview Friday, Jempson said she felt compelled to talk about her past because people recently have threatened to disclose her criminal record. So basically, if nobody threatened her, she wouldn't have said anything. The plot thickens. Now just think about that. The deception would have continued. When were we ever going to find out? Is my question. And like I said, I'm glad it came out, but it's not courageous to come out because somebody's threatened you. Okay? And to disclose her criminal record to promote other candidates. That person that was going to do that, basically, Ito Benvizi, the Bakagoon squad were threatening her, blackmailing her for whatever, to discredit her, everything for the upcoming election. That's who did it. Why do we keep leaving Ito's name out of this stuff? We know who did it. Let's just say that, okay? And Evan Moron and all these other people. The same group of people. Given that and the topic of Tuesday night discussion, Jempson said she shared her experience. Jempson pointed to a list of civic duties and volunteer positions she has held in Moreno Valley in the past 3 decades. It doesn't matter what you've done. You could have worked at the Vatican. One of the people in the conspiracy of Abraham Lincoln was a Vatican guard for years while he was on the lam. Then he was finally brought back, and that was the lady that got hung, Mary Surratt, the first lady in United States history to be hung by the United States government. Her son, John Surratt, when they finally brought him back to the United States, he was exonerated in the conspiracy, and he ended up living a long life, became a teacher, and everything like that. But the fact of the matter is, it is what it is, and you should have disclosed that. Now, I was looking through my binder of book of when we took the thing about the rules and stuff. There was nothing in that book that I found that you had to disclose if you were a felon or not. So, technically, you didn't have to disclose that. But don't you think a person with integrity would have given the people the choice of saying that? Because in the climate at the time, and that's still going on today, I think it's very important with all the corruption that we have. This is what I was talking about, people. 360 degrees of association. I'm not smearing Miss Jempson. I'm just stating a fact of how I feel and how a lot of other people feel. You should have told us that before the election. I don't think it would have made a difference. People love a comeback story. We love Rocky. We love movies like that. I mean, just, wow, this person, all this adversity, and they came back and people still supported them. And I in my heart, I believe people in Moreno Valley are very forgiving. But with the climate that we have and how Highland Fairview and Edo Benvisi does their business, we can't tell this person from that person. You know, have more faith in us, Miss Jempson. Have more faith in your friends. I have people right now, I still call friends and we have disagreements. You don't have to agree with me to be my friend. Healthy debate is good. You can read the rest of the story on the Press Enterprise. You can come on my page and put down your information. And this is what we're talking about, people. Now we're entering silly season, and here we go. Again, we need to vet these candidates and do your homework. Do your homework. I'm Donovan Sadiq. This has been Update.